Okay, bringing up YouTube. Okay, YouTube is going, Linda.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, Ben. Welcome. Hi, I'm Lisa. Rainey, see you there. Hi.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
All right, guess we're just waiting on Robbie. Hello. So I hear we're supposed to get snow. Anybody know an update on that? Is it back and forth? I was coming down Creedmoor Road from work and they're already brining. Yeah, they've already got brine down on Creedmoor Road like they did last time. I'm like, uh-oh, I better look at the weather because this is not a good sign. This one? I can't hear. No.
Great, yeah.
Good, good. Yeah, you were here yesterday? Yes, all right, good. Yeah, what'd you think of Geshe-la? It's very informal. Yeah, it's very informal. You really don't have to do anything.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything you don't want.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go along with the crowd, but I have no idea.
Hi, Robbie. Robbie has arrived, everyone. Yeah, we got 3 minutes, Robbie. This is already class 3. There's only 4.
And they'll still just continue every Monday, right?
We'll take a break between each module. Sometimes a week, sometimes 2. Let me ask Linda. Linda, when does the next module, How to Meditate, start?
Hang on. I think 1 second.
And who's teaching that? David?
No, not David. He teaches meditation 101. Oh, are you asking about meditation 101 or the next DB module?
The next DB.
Yeah, next DB will start February 4th and run for 4 weeks. And to be honest, I can't remember who's teaching that. Oh, Steep's teaching that one.
I guess we're not skipping a week then. I guess not. There's no break between these two, Linda? No, okay.
I'll
I
double
guess-
check, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it was set up.
Okay.
Actually, I'm wrong. It starts February 10th, so there is a
Okay.
week break. Sorry about that.
There we go.
Okay, testing. Yeah, I'm on. Okay, good evening, everyone who came out on this cold night. Let's see, do you have any announcements, Lisa, before we begin?
We were just talking about the next module.
Okay.
How to meditate starts February 10th.
Okay.
And there'll be 4 classes, and the instructor will be Steep.
Okay, great. It's a wonderful module. Anything coming up over the next week, Linda, that you want to announce? Any events out of the ordinary here at the center?
Well, I will say it's not coming up next week, but coming up February 21st through the 23rd, Venerable Amy Miller will be coming to Kadampa Center and teach for the weekend. So she'll do a weekend workshop on self-compassion, meditation techniques, and mindfulness. So be sure to check out the calendar for the dates and more information about that. She's wonderful if you haven't experienced her. And she is a Western nun, so she's very good at teaching and talking to Westerners and bringing it, to our level that makes sense and is very tangible for our lives. So I highly recommend it.
Yes, highly recommended. Okay, so I want to continue going through the prayers. So if you have the Gold Prayer Book, you can turn to page 34. And we talked a little bit about, we refer to these as prayers, though they're really more aspirations or wishes. And as with everything, they're done for the effect that they have on our mind. Okay, we don't do them because they are traditional, but that's not the reason we do them. We don't do them because someone told us to do. We do them because we find them helpful in training our mind in the direction we want to go. And certainly there's no obligation to say these if they don't speak to you. And if you're ever here at Kadampa Center, there's certainly no obligation to speak them if you don't want to, but it's worth looking at. So last week we talked about the 4 immeasurables, the 4 immeasurably great wishes. And then I wanted to step back and look at the verse entitled Taking Refuge and Generating Bodhicitta on page 34. So taking refuge, that's a whole module in discovering Buddhism. But that's basically acknowledging what we turn to as our source of refuge, or source as our safe place, or as our source of strength. And we typically say that in this tradition, we go for refuge not to drugs, sex, and rock and roll, but to the Buddha, the historical figure who achieved enlightenment, the Dharma, the teachings that he and other great teachers have given us, and the Sangha, which is the other people on the Buddhist path. So we go for refuge. That's our safe place. So we say, I go for refuge until I am enlightened. So when we become enlightened, i.e. when we ourselves become a Buddha, which is a possibility for each of us, meaning that we've completely developed our mind in its qualities of wisdom and compassion. So until I get to that point, I look to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha as a safe place. Now, when we become enlightened, we don't have to go for refuge, okay? We're basically living in a state of refuge, but we don't have to think. A Buddha doesn't sit around and think, oh, I need to go for refuge. That would be kind of pointless or kind of ridiculous. The Buddha is the source of refuge. So this is something we do on the path until we become enlightened. To the Buddha, again, the historical figure who lived 2,500 years ago, not because he's a god or he's all-powerful, but because he's a wonderful example of a human being who sat down and developed his mind, which is what we're all working on. the Dharma. Does anybody know the exact meaning of the word Dharma, what it actually means? The literal meaning of it? It's that which separates us from suffering. Okay, when we say that, but what we're referring to here is the teachings of the historical Buddha that he's left us based on his own experience. Okay, and then the Supreme Assembly, which is the Sangha, which is sometimes used in the general sense of everybody who comes to Kadampa Center, everybody who's studying Buddhism, but more technically it refers to those who have taken robes and are practicing following that path. So again, as a living example of the teachings. So by my practice of giving and other perfections, okay, so by practicing giving or generosity, this is one of what's called the 6 perfections, which also include concentration, wisdom, joyful effort, generosity, patience, and one other. What's the one I'm forgetting? Yeah. Ethical behavior, yeah. Interesting, I left that one out, yeah. Ethical behavior, not hurting others. Patience, not getting angry. Generosity, not clinging to our possessions. Concentration, which we work on in our meditations. Wisdom and compassion, okay? So these are the 6 perfections. There's 6 practices that we work on as we're on the path to enlightenment. Well, I left out joyful effort. That means, taking joy in being on the path. Okay, so these are the 6 perfections. We practice those, we work on those, we develop those qualities. By my practice of giving or generosity and the other perfections, may I become a Buddha, may I become enlightened to benefit all sentient beings. That's sentient beings, all those with minds or consciousness that can experience suffering. And that's the bodhicitta motivation. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So the first part is taking refuge. The second part is generating bodhicitta by practicing the 6 perfections, wanting to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we typically say that 3 times. Sometimes we do it in Tibetan. Typically we do it in English, which is what we'll do tonight. It's customary to put your hands together at the level of your heart when you say this prayer, but again, it's completely optional. So we'll read Refuge and Bodhicitta together 3 times, and then we'll read the 4 immeasurables 1 time, and these are to help set our motivation for the first meditation that we'll be doing this evening. Any questions or comments? Yes, Chris. Yes, yeah, that's the literal translation of Dharma. That's what I've been told, yeah, okay. Patience. Mm-hmm. Okay. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. Let's read this together out loud, okay? I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Okay, so we've said our prayers. It said that we do those it's like tilling the soil so that the seed of the meditation has a better chance of taking root. It's like it's softening our normal way of thinking and getting our mind prepared for the meditation. And they even say that when we're new to meditation, we should do 90% of our time should be in saying prayers or aspirations, and just 10% in the actual meditation, because our minds are so stubborn sometimes. Just something to think about. So begin the meditation by establishing your posture. I think most people are familiar with it now. Straight back, sitting to the front of your cushion. You're sitting straight in your chair. Head just a couple degrees in front of the vertical. Eyes slightly open or lightly closed. Mouth lightly closed. Back a little bit straighter than we normally sit. Arms away from our chest. And traditionally, right hand on left with thumbs touching. If you want to put your hands on your knees or in another posture, that's fine. If you're on a cushion, your legs are crossed in a manner that you find stable and non-distracting. If you're in a chair, your feet are flat on the floor or on a cushion. Identify any sources of tension or discomfort now, so they don't become a recurring theme in the meditation to follow. Three deep breaths with the abdomen expanding on the in-breath and contracting on the out-breath. And allow your breathing to return to its normal pattern. And again, reflect on the bodhicitta motivation. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. By practicing the 6 perfections. And the one we'll be practicing in this meditation is concentration. It's one of the qualities of mind required to become a Buddha. A Buddha has perfect concentration. So may I develop concentration in order to benefit all sentient beings. And having set our motivation, we begin the actual meditation. The mind, the awareness, is on the physical sensation of breath moving in and out through our nostrils. Nothing more, nothing less than that. And every time our mind wanders off, every time another thought appears in our mind stream, we set that one aside and come back to the breath over and over again. And we can end our meditation by doing a brief dedication. Acknowledge that we've done something a little bit out of the ordinary. We've worked at developing concentration. And may that work not be lost, but may it ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you can relax your concentration. Okay. Any questions or comments about the prayers or aspirations that we read or about the meditation? Yeah, Mark.
Yep. So what I find most times as I begin to meditate, whether it's a concentration meditation or an analytical meditation or any other form, is after like 2 or 3 minutes, I tend to lose that focus of the object and then kind of go into a lull, almost like a doze.
Yeah.
And would that be because I'm losing focus of what the meditation
Yeah, I think so,
object
yeah.
is?
And I think Steve will talk about this more in the next module, but they say sometimes, one thing they say is maybe you should try meditating with your eyes open, okay? Or try a different posture or something to keep just a little bit more stimulated, yeah. But that's not at all uncommon, yeah. And it doesn't mean that your concentration is getting better. It means you're just losing the object slowly, yeah.
But I also notice that after I find myself that way, it seems like I'm more concentrated.
Yeah, okay.
But I of course, since I don't meditate with my eyes open, I don't know if anybody else is doing the same thing or not. Right?
Yeah, I didn't see you falling off your chair or anything like that, yeah. Okay, good, thank you.
If anyone has a question online, you can unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, we've got one more here.
Okay.
Quick question on the meditation where you're supposed to bring your attention to the thoughts that are going in your mind.
Which we'll be doing shortly, yeah. Okay, but go ahead, bring it.
Yeah, when I've tried to do that before, I can get a sense for, it helps me get a sense for the awareness part of your mind that's kind of like the sky.
Okay.
But then and obviously I'm aware of the thoughts almost the time. They're constant. But then as soon as I try to put my attention on the thoughts, it gets real quiet. And then the thoughts are become very infrequent. So it's almost like shining a light, on the cockroaches, like scatter away,
Yeah, I mean, there is some thought there. It's not like there's no thought, okay? It's just maybe a more subtle level of thought that you're not really aware of, okay? But it's not like sometimes we talk about the space in between the thoughts, and that's not really accurate because there's never it's always one thought touching right up against another. We just don't necessarily see it, okay? The mind is always perceiving something, but that's good, yeah. And we'll do we're going to do both meditations, one on the thoughts, one on the space in which the thoughts occur. If I manage time a little better tonight than I did last week. Okay, thank you for the comments. Quick review. What are the 3 qualities of the mind as described by the Buddha? The first is, no, that's not the first one. The first one, non-physical, okay? It's that non-physical aspect of our being that we constantly experience, but it's so constant that we're not even aware of it most of the time. As Venerable Rabina said in the tape we watched last week, it's that inner part of our being, not referring to our organs and our brains, but that non-physical inner part. And and emotions, feelings, memories, planning, adding 2 + 2, all that non-physical activity that our body performs, that our being experiences continuously. Okay, first is non-physical. Second is no beginning and no end, yeah. Without beginning and without end, and without gaps, continuous also. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And the third is it's in the nature of clear light, perfectly clear water, or uncontaminated, lacking in any qualities, okay, in any fixed, unchanging qualities. Okay, it's in that nature. And then what is the function of mind? To perceive, to be aware of, to know, to become familiar with. These are all words for the same thing. And what we're talking about is there is an object, okay, and this is where we'll just take a cup, okay, there is an object, and the mind, this is where it's useful, I think, to think of it as a mirror. Cup reflects, or the mind reflects mirror, okay? So the mind is perceiving, the mind, like the mirror, reflects the cup, perceives the cup, is aware of the cup, okay? The cup is a perception, okay? Is something the mind perceives. Book, that's a moment of mind, that's a perception occurring in this empty space of the mind. Clock, okay? But in the same way, a memory of what I had for lunch today, that is an object that the mirror of my mind is perceiving, is reflecting. An emotion, I like this person, that is an object that the mind perceives. Depressed, I feel depressed. Again, that is an object that the mind perceives. I feel happy, okay? I need to stop at the store on the way home from the center tonight. All of these are objects. And this is not really the subject of this class, but the Buddha said that there's really no difference in ultimate qualities between the cup and a feeling of depression or a plan on something I need to do. They are all perceptions of the mind, okay? That is ultimately the way they exist, and that's getting way outside this course. But the Buddha said, if we really get down and look at it seriously, our mind is the creator of our experiences, okay? Which doesn't mean, I can just sit here and place my body in Paris or something like that. But at some level, everything we experience is the product of our mind. Everything that we perceive is created by our own mind. Now we have certain, and we all, each of these is just a moment of thought. We all have certain patterns of thought that we've developed over time that have become habitual, like recurrent thoughts of depression, or recurrent thoughts of anger, or recurrent thoughts of generosity. That's just, each one of those is just a series of perceptions, okay? None of them are fixed. None of them are part of our inherent existence. They are just a series of habitual perceptions. And we tend to think of that as maybe personality or who we are. And that's what we're stuck with. And the Buddha says, no, you need to begin to see that the thoughts are not who you are, okay? They are perceptions that you're having, but they are not fixed. That is not your inherent nature. And it is possible through training your mind to completely eliminate the thoughts that make you unhappy, that agitate your mind, and replace them with thoughts that make you happy, generous, patient, all of those qualities. Completely possible, even in one lifetime, the Buddha said. Be very hard. Typically, we think of it, if we accept past and future lifetimes, as occurring over multiple lifetimes. But the Buddha says it's possible even in just one lifetime. Okay? All of the thoughts that are there can be removed. There's not a single one that cannot be removed from your mind if you so wish, and go about it skillfully. And there's no thought that it is impossible for you to place there. You can put any thought there that you wish if you know how to do it skillfully. So everything is just an object of perception, a reflection in the mirror, but not inherently part of the mirror. Okay? So it's actually a very kind of optimistic way of thinking. It creates infinite possibilities about what we can do with our mind and therefore with our experience. Okay? Any questions or comments before we do another meditation? Okay. So let's get back on our cushions, crack the whip, back on the cushions. Check your posture. Set your motivation. And place your concentration on your breath, the movement of the breath in and out through your nostrils. And now we're going to take our concentration and just place it on the non-stop procession of thoughts in our consciousness. It's said that there are 64,000 moments of mind in the time it takes us to snap our fingers. And I doubt if many of us have developed our mind so that it's subtle enough to pick up all 64,000. We're just dealing with the crude, gross, big thoughts. And that may be what gives us a sense that there are gaps in between the thoughts, because we just don't pick up all the thoughts. We're just not able to yet. But let's just look at the flow of the gross, crude thoughts. I've got an itch on my hand, and you don't have to verbalize them, just look at them. I hear a buzz in one of the lights. I had a rough day at work today. I'm hungry. This is kind of nice. Just one thought after another, after another. This is where analogy helps us sometimes. We can think of a continually flowing stream. Or another image is beads on a string, one thought after another, just like one bead after another. So just look at the thoughts as they continually flow. And now, as we become aware of each thought, let's just say to ourselves about each thought, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Is that a pleasant thought? Is that an unpleasant thought? Or is that just a neutral thought I don't care about? And if we're honest with ourselves, there are very, very few really neutral thoughts. Most thoughts come with a quality of wanting to hold on to it if it's pleasant, wanting to push it away if it's unpleasant. So just a simple, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral on each thought. And you can end your meditation with a brief dedication and relax your concentration. That quality thoughts have of being pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, it's kind of the bells and whistles that each thought comes with. That's what we refer to as mental factors. And it will be a subject of another, that's taught in another module, but they're 51 or 52 mental factors, that accompany each thought, okay, in various combinations that give them that emotional quality. They're just not these neutral objects. Even something as looking at it, like looking at a cup. If we look closely at our mind, there's going to be some quality of pleasant or unpleasant in that perception. Yeah, Chris.
You said 64,000 moments in a finger snap.
Yeah.
And, it's 64. I asked Lama Google, and yeah.
So it's just 64.
64.
I multiplied it by 1,000.
1,000.
Okay. Well, that makes it a lot easier. Thank you. Yeah. There's. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me on that. 64. Okay. In a finger snap. Oh, that's a piece of cake. Yeah. We're almost there. Okay. Any other questions or
still
comments?
Incredibly hard to comprehend that there's 64.
There's 64,000 something. There are all these numbers everywhere. Yeah. I know they're not 64,000 mental factors. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I wanted to talk briefly about the 3 levels of mind. Okay, it's said that our consciousness, there are kind of 3 different levels at which it operates. The first is the gross consciousness, which is the way we interact, the way we live our lives. We're experiencing mostly the gross consciousness, which perceives objects as, it's not very subtle, it's not very accurate. Okay, but it functions for us in a conventional sense. But it sees a cup, and it sees a clock, and it sees a book, but it doesn't see them real accurately, but it sees them. And this is the mind that we're dealing with when we start to meditate, okay? It's not super accurate, it's not real skillful, it's not real subtle, but we deal with it, okay? And that's what we're most familiar with. The gross consciousness. Then there is what's beneath that is what's referred to as the subtle consciousness, which is much more accurate, much more subtle and skillful in seeing things the way they are and not misperceiving reality. It's not perfect, but it's better than the gross consciousness. It's said that we experience this consciousness in deep, serious meditation. So if we're a practiced meditator, we may get glimpses of it. Said we experience it in dreams at times. Okay. Said we experience it at the moment of sexual orgasm. Those are times when we're more in touch with reality, the subtle consciousness. And then below that, there is what's referred to as the most subtle consciousness, okay, or sometimes referred to as the consciousness of white light. And another time we experience the subtle consciousness is when we find ourselves in sudden danger, like if we fell off a cliff, we would get a glimpse of subtle consciousness then. The most subtle consciousness, or the consciousness of white light, that is the consciousness that is without beginning and without end. Okay, the gross consciousness with its perceptions of this world and stuff, that is not beginningless or endless. ends when we die to a certain degree. The subtle consciousness is not without beginning, without end. But the most subtle consciousness is what continues from one lifetime to the next and what has come from previous lifetimes. And it's that consciousness that carries the seeds of our karmic imprints. That karma is deposited, and this is not the subject of this course, but it's on the most subtle consciousness because karma is never lost, okay? The results that we will experience because of our actions of body, speech, and mind are not lost. So the karmic imprints are on the most subtle consciousness. And if we practice and train, we can have a direct experience of the most subtle consciousness or directly perceive it at the moment of death. Okay? And so that's why in the module on death and dying, we'll do this meditation on going through the death process. What happens at the time of death as the body and mind begin to separate and as the body decays? And it's said that His Holiness the Dalai Lama does that meditation every day, multiple times, to prepare for the moment of death. Because if you're prepared for it, if you understand what's going to happen and what's happening, you can have a direct experience of the most subtle consciousness, and that can be a tremendous jet-powered trip on your way to enlightenment, okay? It can be used for great benefit. And you hear these stories of these great meditation masters who to all external experiences, external observations have died. They have no pulse and no brain activity, but they're still sitting in some sort of meditation posture for days or weeks or something. Those are people, it's said that they're staying in that experience of the white light, okay? And that's what goes on into the next lifetimes. So there's gross consciousness, subtle consciousness, most subtle or white light consciousness. Almost all the time we're operating in the gross consciousness. Sometimes we get glimpses of the subtle consciousness. Probably most of us don't, even though it's there, don't have any real awareness of the most subtle consciousness. Our minds are just not subtle, or not trained to perceive it. You have to kind of imagine you're turning your eyes inside out and looking at yourself to see these levels of consciousness. But it is there continuously. Okay? So, one more meditation. Any questions or comments? I think that's, yes, that's another time when I said we get a taste of the subtle consciousness. Yeah, okay. Yeah, when we sneeze. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Another meditation. Check your posture. Set your motivation. Concentration on the breath. And now we turn our concentration to the empty space that is our mind. Not the thoughts in the space, but the space itself. We're using the mind to look at the mind, looking inward. We're looking at the perfectly clear sky, not the clouds that pass through it. We're looking at the perfectly clear mirror, not the objects that it reflects. Or we're looking at the blank movie screen, not what is projected on it. So this may be awkward at first. Some people may find it easy. Some may find it awkward to try and look at empty space. But just keep your concentration on that. Not the thoughts passing through, but the space in which they occur. And you can do a brief dedication. Acknowledge the positive imprints you've made. May they ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you can relax your concentration. Okay. So just to sum up, the things I'd like people to kind of take are just start to become aware of the non-stopping, continual flow of perceptions, of awarenesses. And this is where I really like the image of beads on an endless string. There is always one bead after another. And there are two beads in the same place, but one after another, 64 in a finger snap. But the beads are not the string. That's the other thing that's important. No matter how evil or ugly a thought may be, how something we're embarrassed to even admit to ourselves, it does not change the nature of the mind. The mind remains clear. Okay? The thought itself may be something we want to get rid of, but it is not changing the nature of the mind. The mind remains stainless. Okay? Any thought. None of them are contaminating the mind or permanently leaving their mark. Okay? They're just perceptions, objects that can be eliminated and replaced by others that are more beneficial. Any comments or questions? Okay, so thank you, everyone. We've got one more class. We're going to wind it all up. Like people to meditate for 6 days this week on one of those two meditations, either the flow of thoughts or the space in which the thoughts occur. And we'll come together next week for our last class.
Yep, last class next week.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Kadampa, everyone on Zoom.
Stay
and
warm.
You too. Stay warm, stay safe.
Lisa,
Yes.
John Kelly has a question I think for me maybe. So John, just stay on Zoom, and Lisa, don't close Zoom yet.
Okay, got it.
Thanks, Robbie. Thanks, Lisa.
Good night.
So John,
It's been a while since I've logged in to DB homework. I used to have it all saved and I don't have it anymore.
yeah, no worries. So this round of DB, we're not posting it online.
Okay.
So what I'm telling folks is to just go to the FPMT website. You'll need to go to online learning. I forget what it's called. Like just if you go to fpmt.org, across the top there's a choice for education.
Mhm.
And choose that, and then that'll prompt you somewhere down the list to set up an FPMT online learning account, and then you
Yeah,
can
I've
go to
definitely got one
that.
of those.
Say again.
I've definitely got one of those, and
Okay.
I've checked some of them off over I don't know, 3 times through this.
Yeah, perfect. And so so if Robbie gives homework like he did tonight, or if any of the other DB instructors, just write it down because I'm
Mhm.
not posting it anymore.
Yeah.
And then for the readings and everything, you can reference the FPMT website.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that online learning website. But as far as like what homework is
Yeah.
assigned, just write it down at the end of class when the instructor assigns it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
You
All right.
good?
Yeah, no, I'm great. I'm great. I'll
Awesome.
just do it through FPMT. And I was thinking like that was one of my goals this year was to find the ones I hadn't checked off and just get them all so I can check
Yeah.
the card.
That's
So,
fantastic. And the FPMT is an amazing website to be able to do that. And they even added like a log sheet so you can log what you've done for each module in
mhm,
case you're wanting to get the certificate of achievement. And that comes through the FPMT. You would
yeah,
submit it to them. So
yeah.
yeah, hope you've
Okay.
been good. Hope the
Yeah.
family's well.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's funny. I connected with Christy Batts, who's in the program that I work with, and I
Oh,
haven't seen her for a little while, but yeah.
awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
All
Take
right,
care.
good seeing you. Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.